Hi, everybody, and welcome into a We Learn Wednesday edition of the B Team presented by Southwood Valley Animal Hospital. And the host of this show is ill-prepared because I do not have the Southwood Valley Animal Hospital read right in front of me.
Well, it makes sense that you're not prepared because these guys are never on time.
Where is this read here? There it is. Unlike Southwood Valley Animal Hospital, who will always be on time and ready to go, I was not. But Southwood Valley Animal Hospital, they are a full-service veterinary clinic offering tailor-made wellness plans for your pet, sick visits, daytime emergency care, advanced surgical capabilities, preventative medicine, and more. They're Aggie-owned and operated by husband Dr. Justin and wife Dr. Lauren, veterinary team, and they take care of your pet like they're family. Richard Zane to my left, Kate Bickham producing the show. It is, as I said, a We Learned Wednesday, and boy, did we learn some stuff last night on a We Learned Tuesday night about the Texas A&M, I guess the resume that has been put before the College Football Playoff Committee. We are going to react to that. Nick Saban, the betting favorite for the LSU job, interesting enough. And then the New York Giants have a football coach opening. Lane Kiffin rumored there, as well as Bill Belichick. So a lot to get to today, but we have got to start with this being a top-of-mind sports show with the reaction to last night's college football playoff rankings unveiling. Again, we are last to the feed bowl in these national scenarios, and by the time you get to us, first of all, we thank you for your listenership. Do us a favor, click that like button. It doesn't do anything for you, it does a lot for us. Doesn't sign you up for anything. All it does is help our algorithm. So make sure you click that thumbs up today as we begin to go through these college football rankings. And again, we are the last to the Punch Bowl. We've just got the detritus left over at the bottom, but we do need to react to it. So by the time you have heard everybody else in the college football media world talk about it, you get to the B team, and that's why I guess we are the B team, because we are second fiddle to this. And going into it, we said we don't really have a huge issue if A&M ends up being second or third. And so I don't have an issue with A&M being third. I do have an issue, though, however, is whenever Mack Rhodes gets on the broadcast and then spouts nonsensical talking points about why Texas A&M remained behind Indiana, most notably about the drive Indiana made to beat Penn State and Fernando Mendoza being clutch, and said they talked a lot about A&M Missouri and felt like that wasn't the same Missouri team that was playing a couple of weeks ago because they were on a backup quarterback. How do you say those two things in the same breath? Whenever you hold that title, whenever you are in that position, is insane to me.
I thought it was asinine, and it wasn't just Mack Rhodes. Of course, he catches a lot of the heat, and rightfully so, because he's the chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee. But even on the broadcast, man, when they put out Indiana graduate and alumni Heather Dinich, and she sits there and says, oh, well, I think a lot of the people in the committee probably had that drive that Fernando Mendoza went on. That's what was fresh in their mind. Okay, who cares? Awesome. It was an amazing play. Everybody has said that. Nobody's taking anything away from Fernando Mendoza. Omar Johnson Jr. is the kid who caught the ball, the amazing body control to get the toe tap in and keep their record unblemished. It was amazing. It was a great play. But do not lose sight of the fact that it gave Penn State its sixth loss of the season. Its sixth loss of the year.
That's 6 in a row. 6
straight losses for the Nittany Lions. They were the preseason number 2 team in the country. It might be one of the worst fall from graces in the entire sport from one year to the next, just talking about on field, because Penn State's got plenty of fall from grace elsewhere in their football department. It was ridiculous for you to sit there and say that, oh, because Fernando Mendoza had a Heisman moment, that's the reason they should remain 2. It's ridiculous.
Let's be on that. It's not applying the same logic. It's a double standard. If you were going to use the drive by Indiana and Fernando Mendoza's Heisman moment to prop up a 3-point win on the road against a team, as Richard said, that was working on its 6th loss with a backup quarterback, with a backup head coach, and you somehow that win is better, lends more credence to Indiana holding their spot in the rankings over Texas A&M, who went on the road and methodically and quite frankly, boringly for a lot of people in the country. That was a boring watch for A&M to thump number 22 Mizzou in their house by 21 points. You didn't have a big eyeballs moment like Fernando Mendoza had to have. And again, I sat here yesterday, Cade, and I talked for 25 minutes about Indiana shouldn't apologize for that. That's what happens in a college football season. But if this, to me, it doesn't matter personally, but it does matter professionally. You were hired to do a job. And whenever the explanations come out, and this is a very important job, so it is important that you get this right and you start setting precedent for years to come, weeks to come. So whether you want to look through it through a microscope or a telescope, you have to start setting precedent here for what's going to work in the future and how, like, the parameters that you are going to hold teams to, they've got to be consistent. Billy wore out the committee about it. And I don't know how many national media members have we seen come to A&M's defense here? Or is everybody kind of enthralled by this one drive that Fernando Mendoza had to win the game against Penn State? That's if I'm looking for a reason why Indiana held that spot is because of the spotlight of the moment. It was about to be a massive upset. They drove the field and won it on a miraculous play. Whereas A&M just goes in real businesslike, thumps a team and gets out of town, and it wasn't not a lot of intrigue there.
No, because A&M did what good teams do to bad teams. They go in there, they suffocate them, and they choke them out.
But part of this is a Hollywood movie story, right? Part of this is being captivated. And A&M doesn't captivate anybody except their own fans because they go in there, they handle business, and they leave.
Well, we talked about it yesterday, right?
Being there are dead bodies laying behind them.
Let's
joyless
not forget,
murder ball team.
Well, I was going to say, let's not forget that people were saying about A&M before this 3-game road stretch, like, oh, it's A&M. They're definitely going to trip up at some point on this road trip. They didn't. They went and took care of business in all 3 games. The Arkansas game was maybe a little bit closer than what would have been considered comfortable.
Arkansas never possessed the ball in the second half.
Exactly.
With a chance to take the lead.
And the Arkansas game is always close. Always close. It doesn't matter how good or bad A&M or Arkansas is. That game is always close.
Yeah. I do need to correct myself. It was Omar Cooper that caught the ball, not Omar Johnson. Thanks to the guys in the chat for correcting me, holding me accountable. That's awesome.
If his name was Bubba Cooper, you would have gotten it because Bubba's 33.
Yeah.
David Nuno had a very interesting lunch meeting today, and it seems like things are on their way, moving in maybe a partnership direction between Bubba's 33 and TexAgs. I don't want to speak too soon, but that's just my reading of the situation. So they brought us, these are
strawberry lemonade.
Strawberry lemonade.
And they're really good.
Down here below us, we've got garlic knots. So typically we eat and drink in your ears on Thursday. But thanks to Bubba's 33, we're going to do that a little bit today. Yeah. And
2 days in a row.
Cade is diving into the garlic knots.
I can show them. I can present them.
Yes, let's do that. You're great as a Vanna White presenter. Wow. What kind of dipping sauces? Describe the spread.
Well, so let's see. It seems to be 8 garlic knots, and then there's a marinara, and I'm not exactly sure what this sauce is. I'm assuming it's some sort of a garlic sauce. But they do look very good.
Maybe a Caesar dressing?
Potentially. I don't know. We'll have to find out, I guess.
Do you like a Caesar dressing?
No, I do not.
That's right. You're not a dressing or condiment guy.
I like a Italian dressing on my salads.
I like a wet salad.
You like
I like it real wet.
Wet.
Real sloppy, real wet.
Yuck.
A lot of cheese on my Caesar salad. So thank you for Bubba's 33. No, we got to keep
going back to the college football playoff.
Yeah, because there's a lot to unpack there, man. Like
I think it's so annoying.
I have a take on this whole situation. I understand that the resume for A&M is not like brilliant or anything, and there's a lot of teams that other than Notre Dame and
averaging 43 points away from home.
I'm saying but the wins over like these teams are not considered to be good, and they've fired their head coaches. I would argue that A&M broke those teams And that was, potentially the reason for some of those firings occurring, especially the LSU game, 49-25, thumped them in.
Well, yeah,
in
the
Baton
LSU
Rouge,
game's the perfect example of that, because they weren't even close to. They were upset with Brian Kelly. They weren't ready to fire him. There wasn't any real buzz that if he loses to Texas A&M on the 25th of October, 2025, he's going to be fired on the 26th. But Texas A&M went in there and eviscerated them, annihilated them in such a fashion that they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle it.
It sent their whole state.
The entire state went into a tizzy. The same way that Josh Pate talks about how Oregon should get credit for killing Penn State. Penn State put all of their effort, all of their eggs into one basket and trying to beat the Ducks in a whiteout condition at Happy Valley earlier this year. It didn't happen, and it broke the locker room. Texas A&M absolutely deserves credit for breaking LSU, which, by the way, kind of played a really good game against the committee's number 4 team in the country the week after.
Also, the only other team who's beat Mississippi State by a similar margin as A&M is Georgia this last weekend.
Yeah, Mississippi State's been in every game except A&M and Georgia.
Exactly.
The
Arkansas thing is what really bothers me, because you can't have a conversation, and really you shouldn't ever try to have a conversation with a Burnerverse account. But these Indiana burners are so quick to bring up that Texas A&M beat a 7-loss Arkansas team by 3 points. But they don't watch the game, and it makes sense because they only watch basketball, or they've only been watching basketball until 2 years ago. You couldn't explain to them that Arkansas never had the ball with the chance to tie or take the lead because they don't see beyond the final score. You couldn't have an argument with a Indiana fan or apparently somebody on the college football committee about Texas A&M's 16-10 victory over Auburn, in which you tell them to look at the box score and try to explain that A&M choked Auburn out the entire day, outgained them 3-1 throughout the entire 4 quarters because they only see the final score. They're not watching the games. That's what the committee and what these people are saying last night confirms to me. They're just looking at stats. They're just looking at final scores. They're not actually giving any credence to the advanced metrics, strength of schedule, strength of record, or the eye test. Those things go out the window when the committee puts together their top 25. That's what last night confirmed to me.
And you got to look at it when A&M played LSU. LSU was number 15 in the country. Playoff hope still alive.
1,000%. Two-loss team trying to run the table.
When A&M played Missouri, two-loss team, playoff hope still alive. A&M crushed them, crushed their hopes and dreams, and they crushed the entire state of Louisiana. Never mind the fact that the last time that Indiana stepped into Notre Dame Stadium, they lost by double digits in a playoff game. And then they proceeded to start their 2025 campaign with Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State.
The other thing that I didn't like that Mac Rhodes had to say last night was, well, Penn State's playing with their second quarterback, and Missouri's with their third. Okay, so Matt Zollers has been getting second-team reps since week 2. Sam Horn got hurt in week 1 against Central Arkansas, and there was absolutely a quarterback battle in Columbia, Missouri, because Eli Drinkwitz didn't announce a starter going into their season opener. He said that Bo Pribula and Sam Horn were going to play equal reps. They did until one of them got hurt, and guess who has been getting all of the second-team reps since? It's not like they just thrust Matt Zollers into the game against Vanderbilt 3 weeks ago, and then he just happened to be the guy that got the start. The third stringer just happened to get the start against Texas A&M. He's been getting second-team reps and preparing as if he's got to go in the game at the moment's notice for the entire season.
Also, we made this point yesterday, but there was the talk about Zollers before the game was, I don't know. He looked pretty good against Vanderbilt when he came in.
He's got the arm. He's got the talent to make all the throws, and it makes them more dynamic down the field. He was 7 for 22 for 70-something yards,
and
man.
Hey, Kate, can I ask you a question? Because I think you've got the same opinion on this kid that I do. And hand up, I don't even know the name of Penn State's backup quarterback, but it doesn't really matter because is
Ethan
the game against Indiana any different if Drew Aller is their quarterback?
God, no. It might go worse, actually. It might go worse. They might have lost by more. Drew Aller's terrible.
Football terrorist, Drew Aller.
Indeed, yeah.
Another popular topic, at least I saw in my mentions, and all I did was I tweeted. So we talked about it yesterday on B Team. I asked the question. I posed it to both of y'all. I actually went back and looked it up. How many possessions in the second half have A&M opponents had where they possessed the ball and had a chance to take the lead against A&M? Auburn was 3, LSU was 1, everyone else was 0. The net total gain for all of those drives was negative yards.
Amazing.
So in all 4 of those drives, there was no positive yards total gained. And that's all I did. And those are that's factual. And I didn't say this is why Texas A&M should be ahead of Indiana. I just provided a stat, and people interpreted it as me pumping A&M up where they should be in front of Indiana. All I was saying is this is how complete A&M has played, especially in second halves this year. But one of the common responses that I got was in regards to look at that list of teams and how many of those coaches are already been fired. So okay, fine. I don't know how that affects what happened on game day, especially when Billy Napier was the coach on game day.
Yeah.
When Hugh Freeze was the coach on game day. And it's funny, Auburn scores more points now that Hugh Freeze is gone. So I don't know, what is the point that you were trying to make?
How's the Arkansas offense now that Sam Pittman's no longer there?
So Indiana plays a schedule where I don't know the status of some of these coaches, especially their horrifically bad non-conference slate, but there's a high chance that Jonathan Smith is fired at Michigan State. UCLA has fired their coach. Mike Locksley might get fired at Maryland. Penn State has fired their coach. Luke Fickell might get fired at Wisconsin. That's who they play this week. And then the head guy at Purdue.
We're talking about Purdue, guys. What are we doing? We're talking about Purdue.
There's no point in Purdue firing their head coach. They're not going to get any better at football.
I don't know that Mike Locksley is going to be fired at Maryland, but there's plenty. You just Google it. There is plenty of articles about the potential for him to be fired.
Mike Locksley lost to UCLA, which fired its head coach. So,
Barry Odom is the head coach. I forgot that Barry Odom was the head coach at Purdue now. Longtime Mizzou DC.
All the good teams in the Big Ten are just beating up on basketball schools. That's what they're doing.
This is a first year for Barry Odom. That's why in West Lafayette. And so he probably won't be fired. But it is Purdue, like Richard said.
It's Purdue.
And look, we said this yesterday. Everybody's played 9 games, and especially when you look at the SEC now.
Indiana's played 10.
Indiana's played 10, correct. Everybody's played at least 9 games. There has been a lot of crossover now in the SEC to look at data points. And the sample size is increasing weekly, and it will increase again this week with A&M playing South Carolina, a team that Alabama has played. And you can't always use the transitive property, but if the two teams don't play each other, what else do you really have to go on? And I think A&M, if you look at their results, and we'll see what happens on Saturday, if you look at their results and compare them to Alabama, you would say just by not only final score lines, but also game control statistics, that A&M has had a better year. Georgia has been living on the edge quite a bit.
Yeah,
you know that
understatement.
That same team that A&M's getting held over the coals for barely beating in Auburn. If the officiating doesn't screw over Auburn,
they beat Oklahoma.
They beat Oklahoma. If the officiating doesn't screw over Auburn, or at least really put them behind the 8 ball with some 50-50 calls that a lot of things not go their way, they probably beat Georgia at home. They would have gone up 17-0. You never know.
What about the last team we saw Texas A&M dispatch out of Kyle Field, Florida? They were very, very close to beating Georgia.
Yes, they were. They're right
without their head coach, by the way, because if you fire your head coach, that means the season's over and stuff like that. You guys just don't watch the games, okay? Go back to watching basketball. Go back to Assembly Hall. We'll let you know when it's time to come out.
I'm not going to be that dismissive because I think Indiana's a very good team.
They were dismissive to me. They were. I mean, The number of things that you see in your mentions coming from people, and they all do it, they're hiding from burner accounts, so I don't really think these are real human beings. But if you're going to be dismissive towards me and say things like that while being a coward and hiding behind an anonymous account, I'm going to be dismissive towards you because I don't think you're a real human being, and I am.
Well, they are real humans, but
they choose not to act
they're
like
hiding
it.
under anonymity.
Cowards.
But I do think Indiana can win the national championship.
That's a very good football team, yeah.
But I tend to believe, player for player, A&M's a more talented team than Indiana. I think A&M, Alabama, and Georgia would be better matchups for Ohio State. I think Ole Miss may be a better matchup for Ohio State than Indiana, but that's pushing it. But I think if you're just looking at raw roster talent, depth, those kind of things, I think the SEC is better suited to take on Ohio State. We'll see. Ohio State and Indiana are going to play in a couple of weeks in Indianapolis
Most
for the
likely.
Big Ten champion. Yeah, assuming nobody gets knocked off, nothing crazy happens.
We almost saw something crazy happen last week in Happy Valley, so there's no guarantee that something crazy won't happen.
Well, and if you listen to Reese Davis, he presented something crazy that could happen, a doomsday scenario for the ACC. And a doomsday scenario for the ACC would involve Miami losing again.
Okay.
And a 5-4 Duke team, 5-4 with 3 of those losses being out of conference, but a 5-4 Duke team winning out and going to the ACC title game and winning it.
Because it makes the ACC the 6th highest ranked conference champion.
And there's no guarantee that they go into the playoff.
That'd be amazing. That would be amazing because right now, as of last night, the projections are that South Florida would be the group of 5 champion that gets in the college football playoff field, 12-team field. They're ranked 24th overall. They'd be the 12th seed. Not far behind the Bulls, though, James Madison out of the Sun Belt. And if you could have a 4-loss team out of the ACC, there's no way the Duke Blue Devils are going to jump both USF and James Madison if the Bulls and Dukes go undefeated.
Miami's currently 7-2 overall, 3-2 in the league. Their remaining games are against NC State at home. They are at Virginia Tech. Fired coach, that game doesn't count. Remember, fired coach doesn't count. And then the finale on November 29th at Pitt, which is a great segue. We're talking about the ACC, talking about Miami. They end the season at Pitt, which is a great segue into Pat Narduzzi. For those of you that do not know, the Pittsburgh Panthers are 5-1 in the ACC, 7-2 overall. So they hold a 2-game lead over Miami and a game lead over Louisville, a half a game lead over Duke, and then they are tied at the top. So these are all the teams at 5-1 in the ACC: Georgia Tech, Virginia, SMU, and Pitt. This weekend, again, if you've been living under a rock, College Game Day is going to be at Pitt as they host Notre Dame. At the gathered media session, Pitt head coach Pat Narduzzi was asked, is this a must-win game? His response was something unlike anything I've ever heard from a sitting head coach. He said, absolutely not. This isn't a must-win. I don't care if we lose 103-10 or 110-10, very oddly specific scorelines. We just got to win the next 2 after that. The next 2 after that being ACC conference games, which would put them in Charlotte. But how do we feel about a head coach of a school that is in the top 25, is still have a playoff sniff, but their head coach goes in front of the gathered media ahead of a nationally televised College Game Day, one of the premier games of the week, and says, this game doesn't matter. I really don't care if we lose by 100. If you are a player in that locker room and that guy is who you're going to take a knee in front of and he's going to give you the rah-rah speech before you go out on the field, how am I going to believe anything this guy says? What? This doesn't matter. Hey, Pitt, let me tell you this. If you lose this game and you have 3 losses, you're out to me of the college football playoff unless you win the ACC. And even then, you'd be a 9-3 or 10-3 champion. I don't know. You probably would get in,
I think they'd be the last seed, though. I think that whoever, if USF wins out, if they're 11-2, I think that they would get the 11 seed, and then Pitt would get the 12. Pitt
has figured some things out offensively in the last 3 weeks. They've scored 34, 30, and 53 and 35. Excuse me. So in the last 4 weeks, 34, 30, 53, and 35. This will be by far the biggest challenge that they faced over that stretch. Those point totals came against, they scored 48 the week before that. So really the last 5 weeks, they have been really strong. They beat Boston College, Florida State, Syracuse, NC State, and Stanford. Not exactly a murderer's row of ACC teams. This will be their biggest test. I think Pitt, a lot of people have probably given up on the college football season for Pitt. I don't think about Pitt as a potential playoff team, and I haven't for a while. But here we are in mid-November, and they've got a shot because listen to how they finished the season. Notre Dame at home, at Georgia Tech, Miami at home. If you go 3-0 in all of those, you're going to probably climb into the top 7. You may host a home playoff game. So, but you can't do that. To me, you can't do that. Is it with your head coach saying, well, it don't matter if we lose to Notre Dame by 100. We just want to win the next 2. What a crazy thing to say. What if Mike Elko would have said that before A&M went to South Bend earlier?
Everyone would have been so pissed.
Yeah, what?
I can't believe that a competitor at this high level of athletics.
That's like completely gloss over that.
It doesn't matter? Where would a win over Notre Dame on Saturday rank among Pitt's biggest in school history? Seriously.
Top 10 Notre Dame at home.
Top 10 Notre Dame at home. They're storming the field.
Yeah,
they're definitely storming the field.
The only memorable wins that pop up when I think Pitt football are backyard brawls against West Virginia. And West Virginia has not been a program anywhere in the realm of Notre Dame at any point in their history. I mean, maybe that short Pat White tenure.
Have some big wins under Jackie Sherrill. With Dan Marino, huh?
I'm talking about West Virginia.
Oh, West Virginia?
Yes.
I'm talking about like Pitt's all-time wins, like biggest wins.
But what I'm saying is, like, of recent memory, going back to when they were wearing those navy blue and gold jerseys when you had Larry Fitzgerald, the only really memorable Pitt wins that come to mind, maybe they beat Florida State one year. But they're all the memories I have are backyard brawls against West Virginia.
I don't watch too much Pitt football, to be honest with you.
They need to build their own place. I think they are. Did I see that? They're building their own.
Well, they used to have a stadium on campus.
But I think they're building another one.
Are they?
It's going to be like a 30,000 seat stadium. It'll be a lot better. They play at Acrisure, where the Steelers play. I think
it's actually called Heinz Field.
It's Acrisure Stadium.
Yeah, but it used to be Heinz Field.
Yes.
So I'm going to continue calling it Heinz Field.
I don't like college football games and college football teams that play in professional stadiums. The worst one, off the top of your head, can you think of the worst look?
Temple.
Yes, Temple. That's so bad.
Terrible.
Remind me where they play.
At the Link.
Oh, they play at the Link?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
It's a horrifically bad look.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Bill Cosby went to Temple.
When we were talking about Heinz Field, by the way, the only thing that I could think of was that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where where Bane blows up the stadium.
The guy who's running with the football, that's actually Heinz Ward.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I did forget about that, but yeah.
Well, if we talk about any of the Christopher Nolan, Christian Bale. Batman trilogy. If we talk about it too long, David Nuno will pop out of nowhere.
He might join the chat. Yeah.
So I can't imagine Mike Elko. Imagine Nick Saban saying that about any game. Ask Nick Saban if it matters if they win against South Alabama.
They had some things to say about Vanderbilt back in the day. They keep using that quote over and over.
Who said that?
Well, remember, he made the comment that everywhere in the SEC is a hard place to go win at, except maybe Vanderbilt.
Oh.
And then last year when they beat the Tide, they played that clip on the big screen over and over.
Well, this is something I meant to get to yesterday, but I want to talk about Garrett Nussmeier and DJ Lagway being benched. And for those of you that need a refresher, jog your memory, Garrett Nussmeier was replaced, what did we say, Kay, like end of the third quarter?
It was something around there,
Yeah, because he took that bad sack, right, in the red zone.
It was really bad.
But are you aware of what his stat line was?
I think he was
before
18,
he was
18 of 21 for 123. Is that it?
Yes, 18 for 21, 123, a QBR of 79.5. Michael Van Buren comes in. Everybody's like, well, the offense looked better, and because he can use his legs, he was 5 for 11 for 52 yards, 4.7 per, and a QBR of 49. I didn't think Garrett Nussmeier was playing bad enough to be removed from the game.
His play, no, but the way he acts on the sideline, yes. Every single time he gets, I don't know what's the right word. He gets talked down to. He turns into a blank and throws a hissy fit and talks back to coaching. Like, he's not a great dude on the sidelines.
I have to imagine that Frank Wilson, the interim head coach, and some members of his staff did not. I think they wanted to get Van Buren into the game. I think they had probably had a little bit enough of Nussmeier. I do think he tends to talk back to coach. But listen, he's had Brian Kelly screaming in his face for 2 years.
And he was talking back to Brian Kelly too.
I think at some point you just have enough of it. And I don't know Garrett Nussmeier. Obviously, his dad has been around football his whole life. He's got a little brother who's a quarterback at Flower Mound Marcus, really highly touted recruit. They seem like a big-time football family. I think he's been hurt. He's been fighting through it. He's laid it on the line. It comes out today. Frank Wilson announces that he's going to play Nussmeier again this week, but they are also planning on using Michael Van Buren, thus removing his red shirt.
Oh, they're gonna dual QB it.
But it's more than that. Van Buren's going to lose his red shirt over this.
That's so dumb. Yeah, that's kind of a waste.
It's a clown show over there.
On a wasted
season. They have no
season.
idea what they're doing.
So,
by the way, real quick, TB40 said you have to go back to Johnny Majors at Pitt for a big win like that.
That was before my time. In Jacksonville, DJ Lagway was benched for the Florida Gators after going 15 of 24 for 166 yards. And
didn't he throw like 3 picks though?
No. Am I looking at the right?
I could be wrong.
I was making sure I wasn't looking at 2024 because he got hurt in the 2024 game, right?
Well, didn't he get benched this week, or did they not play this week?
Who did Florida lose to this week?
Kentucky.
I don't know why I was looking at Florida Georgia stats.
Yeah, he played solid in the Florida Georgia game.
He was 11. DJ Lagway was 11 of 19 for 83 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks.
That's a more fireable stat line than 18 of 21 for 121 yards. I don't know why I was looking at the Georgia.
If you save Mark Stoops' job, chances are you should be benched.
Now, do you have the stats pulled up? What did the backup Trammell do?
Let me go check.
Oh, I have it right here. Trammell Jones, 9 of 17 for 60 yards, a long of 17. He did take a sack while Lagway didn't. Florida's got massive issues.
I mean, they only scored the 1 touchdown in the game, so.
But to me, these are eye-opening examples of don't get too riled up during talking season in the summer. These graphics, these quarterback rankings that come out in July and August, they're meant to kill time. They're meant to drive conversation. Nobody knows a thing. And if we go back and look, was it Brandon Walker's SEC quarterback rankings? If you go back and look at some, it's Brandon Walker, it's Josh Pate, it's Jake Crane, all these guys that have these national followings, they were all ranking the SEC quarterbacks.
Time we were, I guess, TexAgs, the community was fighting against what SEC Mike was saying, or I guess not saying about Marcel Reed for the longest time. Not doing that anymore.
Well, and we got to talk about one of the funnier things that I think has come up on my timeline is the Texas fans trying to insert Arch Manning or reinsert Arch Manning into the Heisman conversation because Marcel has started to catch a little bit of momentum. Okay.
Chance.
Chills,
And-
Cade. Chills.
I had a Texas fan that tweeted at me that said, yeah, if Marcel's getting an invite to New York, shouldn't Arch too? And then they compared side by side yards, touchdowns, interception, and rushing touchdowns. Interesting that he cherry picked some stats there. So, A&M fans, if you're listening to this and
what
you
did
are
Arch
in
do against Florida?
you are in a back and forth with some Texas fans trying to advocate for Arch Manning being invited to the New York City Downtown Club for the Heisman ceremony because Marcel is also potentially going to be invited, and they think that these stat lines are close. I have some numbers for you. You ready?
I'm ready.
41.9% of Arch Manning's rush yards this season came against Sam Houston State, UTEP, and San Jose State.
It's a murderer's row, guys. You don't just beat the Bearcats
33.8% of his passing came against those three teams. He's 59th in the country in QBR. Whereas Marcel Reed, in the 2 games he played against FCS competition, because he's only played 2 up to this point, 37.6% of his rushing came against UTSA and Utah State, 2 teams that are infinitely better, even though they are in the same echelon. They play the same tier of talent. Utah State and UTSA are way better than anything Texas played. Sam Houston State, by the way, we got to talk about what the Bearcats did last Saturday against Oregon State. Don't let me forget that.
Did they win?
Yes, and you have to go pull up the stats while I'm talking.
I will.
Go. We have to talk about this. Anyway, back to the point I was making. 37.6% of Marcel Reed's rushing yards this year came against UTSA and Utah State, and only 23.2% of his passing yards came against those 2 G5 opponents. He's 16th in the country in QBR.
Can I ask a question?
So Arch Manning and Marcel Reed, they ain't the same.
Can I ask a question? I think it's a decent question. What did Arch Manning do in Texas's one marquee non-conference game? What was he in the season opener against Ohio State in what can only be described as a rock fight and not a defensive struggle, an offensive struggle, because those 2 offenses struggled mightily, and I struggled not to be offended watching it. What did Arch do against the Buckeyes?
17-30 for 170 yards, 1 TD, and 1 INT. A lot of that happened late.
Okay. So what did Mr. Marcel Reed do in his one non-conference game? A road win, mind you, at night against Notre Dame, a team that is currently in the top 10. What did Marcel do against the Fighting Irish?
17 for 37.
360
yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. And he
ran for like 122.
No, he ran for 7 for 37.
Regardless.
7
so
for
instead
37.
of a 500-yard game, it was a 400-yard game in a road victory.
By the way, again, huge Josh Pate fan.
Also,
done.
he
Massive
had a similar moment to Fernando Mendoza this last week where he led the team down the field and scored a last-minute touchdown to win the game.
Against a team that's currently in the top 10, not
Correct.
a team that's got
That is
6
correct.
losses.
Yes.
It's funny to me, too. Again, love Josh Pate, but he's been advocating for Alabama's offense, almost clicking. Alabama's offense is really close because you watch their games, and Ty Simpson is missing some of these open receivers for big chunk plays by fractions, just a step. He's not missing them by 10, 15 feet. He's right there. And I'm sitting there going, well, if you're going to do that and you're going to give him that benefit of the doubt of being close, apply that same logic to what Marcel has done. And how many times early in the year did he just miss deep balls that would have enhanced his stat line today?
Well, how many times?
I don't think it matters. Marcel's playing incredible football.
He's had at least 2 breakaway rushing touchdowns called back by either phantom or really bad holding calls.
Well, let's go back to this college football playoff ranking. And there's some teams that, you look at, we talked about Miami. and Georgia Tech and Michigan. There's teams that are still hovering around this thing that I think for us as A&M analysts, maybe A&M fans, we've given up on the back half of this thing. But you'd have to say that if A&M was in Vanderbilt's spot, I think a lot of the Aggie fan base would be giddy about the idea of getting into the playoff. Vanderbilt's 8-2. I think Vanderbilt, if they get to 10-2, I worry that they're going to be on the outside looking into this deal. But it will all depend on what breaks in front of them. And there's still massive football games to be played. We went through the ACC. Vanderbilt's got Kentucky and they've got Tennessee. At Tennessee is going to be, it'll be back and forth, and that'll be close.
That would be an impressive win for them, though.
And that would, I think, leave a good taste in the mouths of the committee members as they go into deliberations. And if the SEC is going to get 5 teams in,
Neyland is a hard place to win at.
But Vanderbilt needs to be massive, massive, massive Georgia and Texas A&M fans.
For sure. Got to get Texas out of the way.
Yes.
They probably also need to root for Alabama. Get Oklahoma out of the way.
Well, we're going to pick games tomorrow. I'm super intrigued by that. I won't get into it. I have some opinions.
Well, how about the game? How about the teams behind Vanderbilt right now? Because there's a couple Big Ten teams that are capable of potentially getting to 10-2 right behind them. Because what happens if on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, Michigan upsets Ohio State? The Wolverines aren't going to the Big Ten championship game in that scenario. They're not. But
they're 10-2 and probably
they're 10-2 and in, and they're gonna that would steal a bid for sure from an SEC team at 10-2.
Or a second Big 12 team, depending on what happens there.
Yes.
The Big 12 is they're in a bind because right now it's Texas Tech and then nobody.
Sauce you go with the garlic one?
I think it's actually cheese sauce.
It is cheese sauce.
Cheese.
Upon further review,
it's pretty good cheese sauce.
I've had 3 already. They're pretty good.
I just wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
They're not pretty good. They're really good.
They're very, very
and they
solid.
are, what do they say? The worst thing for pizza dough is time in the box. These have been sitting in the box for a little bit.
They're good though.
They are tasty. Thank you to Bubba's 33.
They're moist. They pull apart nicely. Good stuff.
And
That's my mom's
the
least
strawberry
favorite one.
lemonade is elite.
The strawberry lemonade is elite.
It's sweet, but it is good. You gotta fight through it. Make sure you brush your teeth afterward. Get all the sugar off of it. Yep, it's like that's a cavity, liquid cavity, but it's good. Yep. And then what do we think about Utah being in front of Vanderbilt?
I would disagree with that.
I would too. Utah's best win.
Their offense isn't very impressive.
Utah's best win is at home when they thump Cincinnati.
What do you think of the other thing? Sorry, go ahead.
No, finish.
Well, it's another college football playoff thing that it can wait.
Why?
Because
no
it's just a
structure of the
question. It's
show.
like, why Iowa lost? So why did they only move down 1 spot?
Well, they believe the College Football Playoff Committee believed in Iowa more than anybody did because
College
the AP
Football Playoff Committee's real believers in Oregon too.
Yeah, and Iowa's played Indiana the closest outside of Penn State, right? That 5-point win, and was that September? It'll I'm okay with them.
You got to consider Old Dominion too, because that was only a 7-point win for the Hoosiers. Incredible stuff, though.
How's Old Dominion doing?
I don't even know what is an Old Dominion, or what is
They're the Monarchs.
Mascot the Monarchs, and their logo is a lion with the crown.
They are the Old Dominion Monarchs have lost to James Madison, Marshall, and that's it. So they're
Three loss
team.
It's not terrible. Way to go. Good job, Old Dominion. Now do Indiana State and Kennesaw State.
Kennesaw State's had a good season. We talked about the head coach at Kennesaw State being a sneaky head candidate for, like, depending on all this, the coaching carousel and then the fallout, the trickle-down effect. The guy at Kennesaw State is a coach I could see getting a pretty good bump.
Last time I remember talking about Kennesaw State was for that Georgia baseball game they played last year.
Yeah, when what's his name got
Wes
Johnson got tossed and had to walk by
the long trip.
Had to walk. They kept the camera. They were playing at some like city park. He's walking by uncovered ratty-looking batting cages it looked like he was walking out to a yellow dog, like a yellow bus.
It was the night that their pitcher turned around and looked at the runner a second and goes, just sticks his tongue out before beginning his delivery. Kate, it looks like the stuff that I kind of assume you're very well acquainted with when you play club baseball for Texas A&M.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, like that sort of the shenaniganry. Yeah.
The shenaniganry.
Yeah.
Indiana State has wins this year over McKendree College, Eastern Illinois, and South Dakota State.
Is that the same school that McNeese State beat in basketball earlier this week?
No, that was the College of Biblical Studies that had a Hall of Fame baseball player on it. So I don't want to hear any back talk.
Miguel Cabrera, guys. He's playing hoops.
Miguel Cabrera is playing hoops for the College of Biblical Studies in Houston.
By the way, while we're on the subject of cupcakes, I pulled up that box score for Sam Houston, Oregon State, and oh my goodness.
Okay.
I can't believe it.
Go through some of this.
Okay.
So hold on. Before let me preface this.
Yes, go ahead.
Every week what's the guy's name? Is it CFB Nerd or what? It's the graphic guy that puts out, did we really get beat that bad? I'm going to find it because I don't want to misrepresent or not get this guy's name right. I know exactly where it is.
Is this a situation? Oregon State's the school that just fired their interim coach, right? Their interim head coach got fired?
Yes.
Okay.
It was after this game.
It was for this. Okay. I'm curious. All I saw was that they fired their interim head coach. I didn't dive into why Oregon State's doing anything because it's Oregon State and I don't care unless it's baseball.
Parker Fleming is at Stats of War.
Okay. Stats of War.
Stats of War. He every week puts out, it's a net success rates and it's, did we really get beat that bad? And if you're unfamiliar with this graph, it is a bar with the team that won is typically above the team that lost. And like for A&M and Missouri, the bar graph, the bar is very tall because that shows that A&M greatly outplayed Missouri. On this one, for Sam Houston State, the bar is double the length of everything else in its kind of region. It's the longest bar on the graph, and it says that Oregon State should have won this game by a massive amount, and they lost because, Cade, if you want to start reading some of these stats.
I will start reading some of these. So they played two quarterbacks in the game. The two quarterbacks were a combined 9 for 24 passing for 85 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. The Oregon State quarterback was 29 for 42 for 286, and he threw 2 picks, so not a good day for him. Sam Houston State, they ran 24 times for 72 total yards. Oregon State ran 40 times for 188 and 2 touchdowns. And the reason that they seem to have won is because of a kick return touchdown, a 98-yard kick return touchdown. I believe that would have given them, I don't know when it happened in the game, but it probably would have given them the lead or would have helped. But I think they got outgained. Oh, if I'm doing my math right, let's see, 85 plus 72.
I have it.
You got it?
Yep. I was looking at the box, but I have the totals right here. Team stats. Here's some more. Oregon State had 28 first downs, the same Houston State's 8.
Yikes.
474 total yards for the Beavers to 157 for Sam Houston. That is a difference of 217 yards.
Jeez.
This is like if
317 yards. 317 yards.
This is like if A&M had ended up losing that game to Auburn, essentially.
It's about that bad. Passing 286 for Oregon State, 85 for Sam.
What in the
penalties?
World?
4 for 35 for Oregon State, 6 for 58. Oregon State turned the ball over 3 times. Time of possession, Oregon State 38-13 to 21-47 for Sam Houston State.
Lord.
The Bearcats get their first win of the season.
They shut out Oregon State in the second half, too.
You are going to get fired even as an interim if you do something like that. For those of you unaware, the closest game.
Someone's saying that's a Centel tweet. They didn't actually fire their interim coach.
Oh, is that an AI thing?
Sintel. How would you describe Sintel?
I can go
you know, like
into
the NBA Central Twitter account. There's an account called NBA Sintel, and they just do a bunch of
fake parody tweets.
Tweets.
It's like No 3.
Yes, like No 3.
Okay.
That are supposed to look really real, but are definitely
so
fake.
the interim coach didn't get fired? ?
Well, he probably should have.
Yes, he should have.
For those of you interested, the closest game that Sam Houston State had played up to that point was a 2-point loss to Jacksonville State at home on a Thursday night in early October. Outside of that, very quickly, their point differentials, -17 to Western Kentucky, -17 to UNLV, -17 to Hawaii, -55 to Texas, -27 to New Mexico State.
Hey, man, eat 'em up, cats.
-18 to UTEP, -41 to Louisiana Tech. And then a 4-point win on the road at Corvallis.
I got a Sam Houston State diploma on my wall at home. It's not mine, but it's on my wall at home. Congratulations.
I'll tell you what, the Delaware Blue Hens have had a great season. Now they got to travel on the road down to play a red-hot Sam Houston team.
Red hot.
So
Well,
Blue Hens
at least they get to
see
fly into Houston and stay in Houston.
The Delaware Blue Hens, they hate to see the Bearcats coming this week. I've been on Delaware. I was on Delaware last week against Louisiana Tech.
Dude, I've been on Delaware since Joe Flacco was there, okay?
Something about that Flacco
kid.
What is that, Stavros? He's really funny. What happened? Oh, yeah. So I was on Delaware money line. I think the line was 6.5. Louisiana Tech won by 1. So I thought I'd just bet the cover out of won it. But I gave it out as an upset special. So if you took the points, that was an easy winner. But the stat lines and
it's cold in here.
Rarity that a team underperforms another team so vastly in a game, yet still wins, it's unheard of. If you want to get a good look and just kind of compare it to the scores and the stats and the comparative analysis between the teams all across the country in Week 11, go look up Parker Fleming stats at Stats of War on Twitter and find his "Did we really get beat that bad?" net success rates in Week 11 graph. It's hysterical. It's comical. It's funny. So, all right. Where do we want to go from here? We got to talk.
Somebody asked if Marcel just walked in. Oh, because I said it was cold in here. Yeah, chills, guys. Chills.
Nick Saban was, I don't know if it's still this way, but at least at some window during the day, yesterday evening, he became the betting favorite for the LSU job. That is laughable in my opinion. That did not stop a lot of LSU talking heads and the LSU burner verse from taking it and running with it. Now, I got a big kick out of it, and I think a lot of the tweets that I saw in regards to Saban being tongue-in-cheek were being tongue-in-cheek about the possibility of him being the next head coach at LSU. But I talked to a couple of people today that thought at least conversations had been had, and I talked to one guy in the college football space that thought Saban was actually calling other coaches to give them a heads up of how convoluted and screwed up the process was going to be at LSU for a little while. So not running interference, but maybe trying to warn some guys that had come from his coaching tree about stepping on that grenade. So maybe those discussions, the back and forth, and people just, it gets through the grapevine that Saban is calling around about the LSU job. The context of those conversations may not be getting out, but Saban is contacting people about the LSU job. Maybe that's where this is coming from, or maybe Vegas stands somehow to make a little bit of money out of putting up an outrageous scenario. I can't understand or fathom why that would happen.
Well, has Miss Terry contacted realtors in Baton Rouge? That's what I need to know.
You got to go to Tiger Droppings to see what they're saying about.
Has Miss Terry, is she starting to look for houses? Is this going to be the coaching search I'm going to tell my grandkids about? What's happening here?
Peter Burns did tweet that the betting markets are hardly ever correct in coaching searches. And I wonder if you could find that. How often?
Hey, Cade, is there like a 5'4" male in the production room behind you that may or may not know anything about coaching searches and betting markets?
I don't think that he's here yet.
What? He's not here yet?
The Google AI overview, betting markets for
yet.
coaching searches are generally considered to be somewhat efficient in pricing public information, but are not perfectly accurate predictors of the final outcome. Let me ask you a question. How would this make sense for Nick Saban? Why would he do this? And then on the flip side, Richard, you take from a Nick Saban angle. Cade, you take from an LSU angle. Why would you hire Nick Saban?
Well, if I'm Nick Saban, because they're throwing a ton of money at me, and they're making me an offer that I can't refuse, right? The Baton Rouge Mafia has gotten involved, and I can't say no to the Godfather. That's why I would be interested in possibly taking the LSU job, for a second time around. Or, and I don't think this is the case, my wife and I are going through a rough patch. She's got a divorce lawyer.
Wow.
And I'm having to leave the house, and I've got to look for a new place to live anyways.
You went personal.
I need some more. Yeah, well, that's the only reason, man, because Miss Terry's calling the shots. She's calling the shots here. Kirby Smart told us as much at SEC Media Days. I don't think Nick Saban's coming. I don't think Nick Saban, is coming out of retirement.
I don't think so either. I was just trying to ask you to make the case of why he would.
Well, I mean, he doesn't need to for resume purposes. He doesn't need to from a bank account.
We were playing a bit there.
Well, that's why I was trying to play the bit.
Yeah, and you went me and Miss Terry were having a rough go of things. I need the extra cash.
I need a rough go of things.
All right, Kate, if you're LSU, why would you hire Nick Saban?
If I'm LSU, I'm saying I'm looking at it like, well, he's got one of our. He coached us to one of our 2 national championships this century. 3? Okay, thank you. Sorry. I don't know how many coaches I want from, like, group of 5 programs. I don't know if they even want to come and join the clown show right now that is our athletic department, given that the governor seems to be running the show. He already has some ties to the area. He's already coached here before. Maybe if we can give him enough money, it's going to have to be a lot, but maybe if we can give him enough money, he'll come out of retirement and go on a little ride into the sunset with the LSU Tigers. That
is a more cogent argument that I could understand than any reason why Nick Saban would take the job. But outside of the marital issues that you apply in your scenario, in your bit, that
there's no reason for Nick Saban to go back. Now, personally, there's no reason for him to go back.
Here's what I would say in regards to LSU trying to hire Nick Saban. The guy's 72 years old. Father Time waits for no man, and as good as the greatest coach of all time, to me, him sitting there in that happy birthday video covered up in his recliner, that looked like an old man. That looked like a grandpa. And is he going to have the energy to take over the mess that is in LSU right now? And if I'm LSU, I have to take that into account. How many more good years, if he's able to pull us out of this rut that we're in, and don't get it twisted, they are digging themselves out of this hole, and it is not going very well, as it typically doesn't when you try to dig yourself out of a hole. Even if he's able to get some kind of foothold to get them going in the right direction, he's going to have to expound so much energy. What are we going to get from him on the other side of that? And how long are we going to get it? But there is a shelf life on coaches, and it's typically 70 years old is whenever it really starts to decline. I just don't think that would be a wise decision, other than the splash, the immediately headline catching, headline producing event that would be hiring Nick Saban. I don't see an enormous amount of upside for LSU to do it. By the way, lest we forget that the governor sat in front of that camera and said, we ain't doing contracts like that anymore. And since then, we have learned over the last 10 days and 2 weeks that LSU really doesn't intend to honor contracts as they're written anyway.
I liked how you described that there's a real mess to clean up at LSU. I think everybody knows that. Over in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, there's a mess to clean up, albeit very, very different than the one in Baton Rouge. And they hired a 72-year-old to fix their mess. How's that going? Granted, I know that coaching at the professional level versus coaching at the college level is completely different, but it not going nearly as expected.
I said 72. Nick Saban's 74.
Belichick's 73.
There's no way if you're LSU or anybody else that you can hire the guy. And there's even less of a reason why Saban would take that job. Even if it was clean, if that was a clean transition from Brian Kelly and there wasn't turmoil with the new president and the new athletic director and the governor meddling and everything, even if it was a clean scenario, this does not feel like something that Nick Saban needs to walk into at 74 years old.
Not at all.
And unless he's way worse off money-wise than he seems, and I don't understand how that could happen because ESPN's got to be paying him $1 bajillion to work once a week.
God, I want to get that gig.
Well, win a bunch of national championships.
I'm working on it.
It just doesn't make sense. And
really
again,
to PlayStation.
The vast majority of the LSU writers, podcasters, even some of their Twitter, I flip over to your For You page, and a lot of mine's college football stuff. And so even their burners, that they're getting a good chuckle out of it, but I don't think anybody believes it. But I'm sitting there wondering, why would these odds flip so greatly in favor of one guy when it's can be laughed off by anybody that with a functioning brain? What does Vegas stand to gain by putting him as the best odds? Unless there's some legs to it.
Ipe Mizuhara is actually betting on Nick Saban to be the next head coach at LSU.
You need to get in touch with that guy. You talk about wanting to make a lot of money. He seems to have some insights.
Wasn't he operating at a loss, like a crazy loss?
They said because he kept betting soccer.
Siphoning money from Shohei's bank account.
You can't bet on soccer.
They said that soccer is the worst sport to bet on. I think I sent you this.
Yeah, you did.
I don't know who that guy was.
Because if it goes full time, 90 minutes, and they score an extra time, you still lose.
Yeah, it's not like overtime in football where the overtime counts toward point totals. It counts toward money lines and spreads. In soccer, once the 90 minutes is up, if it's a draw and it still goes to added time, they count the draw, which is weird.
That's kind of ridiculous.
Don't bet soccer, dude. You said it's kind of ridiculous for the garlic knot.
I had some ice in my mouth.
Oh, ice in your mouth.
Who was that guy? I sent you that Instagram reel.
I don't know who the guy was talking, but it was essentially the dude, the creditor that was
scrolling through mine and your Instagram exchanges.
Why? You see some Borat?
There's
very
a
nice.
lot of Borat.
Did I send you a Borat one last night, or did I send you a?
Okay, this is.
Did I send you the other guys?
No.
Shaved.
Oh.
Shaved.
You must think I'm really hairy. So this guy's name is Matthew Boyer. I'm just going to play the audio. This is him sitting down talking about he got into some gambling stuff in Los Angeles with Ipe. And it's pretty wild to listen to. So play this into
gamble and whatnot. I even go to spring training games, and in that process, I started. One guy might refer another, etc. Then I went to a Padres Angels game in San Diego, California. After the game, we went and hung out with the Angels team, some of them, not all of them, and they were staying at the Hilton Hotel in San Diego, and we went and played poker there in a private poker game in a conference room. And there were about 4 baseball players, first and third base coach, I believe, and maybe 8 other regular Joes like myself. And we're just playing small poker, $2,000, $3,000 buy-in, just messing around. In that process, Ipe Mizuhara was there, and he was on his phone. He's the interpreter for Shohei Ohtani.
Okay.
Translator.
Right.
And
they're like good friends also,
I would say beyond best friends.
Okay.
Attached to the hip.
Beyond best friends.
He was doing all his errands, running, media, everything. And that relationship was so tight, me and my friend and I saw him betting on his phone, actual sports bets. So my friend said to him, Matt does that, right? I mean, you need an account, happy to connect you. And he's like, of course, that'd be great. So the account started really small, $1,000 a game, $8,000 credit line. It's tiny. Normal account for an interpreter, that would be very sufficient. Within 3 weeks, it was $40,000. And a few weeks later, it was $300,000. And then I had to put a stop to it. I was like, okay, until you pay, I'm not going to give you any more credit. And he wired the $300,000. I never looked at the wire because it wasn't going to my bank account, right? Because I'm debanked. Second, as soon as he wired it, he asked for more credit, $500,000. I give it to him. This guy paid me. Loses $500,000, he pays. That's
This guy's just losing and losing and losing.
He's a really terrible gambler.
Okay.
Truly. One of the worst. And he was betting soccer, which, by the way, is very difficult to win at. Because in soccer, I'm not going to bore you with it, but the bottom line is if you bet a soccer game and in 90 minutes it's 1-1, 2-2, 0-0, you lose. Mm-hmm. But that team may go on and add a time and win, but you lose your bet.
Anyway, that was pretty interesting. He goes on to say that the bets kept getting bigger and bigger, and he kept asking for more credit, and all of a sudden he started – some of these wire transfers started to show up from Shohei Ohtani by name. I always thought that was so interesting, and it brings to – Kate, if you can pull up the tweet that I sent you from yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Let me go grab it. Hold on.
You don't have to put it on the screen. I just want you to read it from your phone.
Oh, I'll put it on the screen. I got it ready.
Okay. So this is something we've been talking a lot of sports gambling and the issues that have arisen from it in the United States, but they have a massive issue overseas with sports gambling in the Turkish Soccer League. And I don't know, I think probably saw this via Men in Blazers or Hercules Gomez, some of these soccer pundits that I follow.
It's New York Times.
And this is a New York Times article, Kate. Because I can't see it, I want you to go ahead and read it.
I can read it, yeah. From the Athletic FC, soccer players from Galatasaray and Besiktas are among 1,024 players suspended by the Turkish Football Federation as a part of an investigation into betting. 1,024 players.
If you have over 1,000 players throughout your Turkish Football Federation or any football, baseball, basketball federation, over 1,000 players have been suspended as part of a gambling ring.
That's crazy.
You have to shut the league down and you have to start over. That is corruption that probably leaks all the way up to the highest level. And for that amount of people to be involved in it, how much money have you
That's just players
stolen?
Too.
How much money have you stolen from people? How much money have you stolen from fans?
They've stolen $500 million just from Ipe Mizuhara.
And how much money has whoever the sports book is that are taking these bets? How deep does the corruption go with them? And you start peeling back the layers. I just got done watching Peaky Blinders all the way through for the second time. There is a season where they start fixing soccer matches in England. They get a hold of the head of referees and they start bribing him. And at knife point, you either do this, you start fixing these matches, or we'll kill you. So right after watching that, my brain thinks that there's something similar going on in Turkey. 1,000 players.
1,000 players.
How many players you are crushing those garlic knots?
Sorry, that was the ice again. But I did actually finish all the garlic knots. They're so good.
Jeez.
Cade's favorite thing about producing B Team is that 2 days, sometimes 2 days a week he gets fed, but at least 1 day a week he comes up here and gets food put in his mouth.
Free food.
Of these players, how many are in their top flight?
That's a good question, actually. How many leagues are in the? How many different leagues do they have?
How many steps to the pyramid do they
exactly,
have?
Yeah.
Let's see if I can find a major gambling scandal in Turkish football has led to over 1,000 players and 149 referees being suspended, with investigations focused on match manipulation and betting by officials. The scandal involves a large number of referees, some of whom were found to have placed very high volume of bets, and is currently being investigated for potential illegal activities, including match fixing. I think that where is Turkey in regards to qualifying for the World Cup?
Probably.
Everybody gets to go to the World Cup now.
Well, they're pretty. They have a pretty solid squad, though.
I know, but what I'm saying is how do we know this doesn't extend to the international matches that have been played in their country?
That's a good point.
Are you looking it up?
I'm trying to find out where they're at. Group A, Group B, qualification, Turkey.
It was reported that 371 of 571 active referees have betting accounts, with 152 actively gambling. Some referees place tens of thousands of bets. Let's see.
Turkey finished second in Group E. So they are in the playoffs.
No, it doesn't. Never mind.
So I need to look up the UEFA playoffs, see what the format's at.
I don't understand. Like, how are we going to let them compete in the World Cup?
Well,
and who's gonna go and do the deep dive into the international matches played in Turkey with their referees?
I mean, how much do we really think FIFA actually?
Well, FIFA's as corrupt as that. Yeah,
exactly.
But this has been brought. This is international news.
That's true. They did get reported on the New York Times. That is
Al Jazeera has picked it up. Yeah, like it's worldwide. And let's see. Some of the best players from Galatasaray, I can't pronounce some of these Turkish names. They are Turkish internationals, are among the 1,224 players.
They haven't done the draws for their playoff yet.
The federation said third and fourth tier divisions are shut down for 2 weeks. That'll fix it. But games in the Super League, led by defending champion Galatasaray, and second tier will continue. So we're just going to memory hole this as quickly as possible because the gravy train's got to keep running.
Gotta have a team that's got a chance to win the Champions League, guys. Gotta keep them alive. Gotta get our shot at the World Cup because, we're definitely going to win the World Cup.
They did pretty good in the Euros last summer.
They've been okay. The country will co-host the men's 2032 European Championships with Italy.
Probably not.
The national team reached the quarterfinals in Euro 2024.
That's going to get taken away from them. Absolutely. UEFA is going to have to take that host bid away.
I think they should be disqualified until they can do an investigation to all the international games that were played there during this World Cup cycle. I don't know that you can allow them to continue to compete, at least not in home games.
Yeah, well, they're definitely not going to get any more teams in the Champions League for a little bit longer anymore. Galatasaray, I think, is in the Champions League draw right now, but that's they're not going to get teams in there for a while.
That country in general is kind of in shambles, but I'm not going to say
it's a widening. According to ESPN, this is an article on ESPN via the Associated Press. This is a widening betting scandal, including national team defender Aaron El-Mali, who has been a Champions League regular for Galatasaray this season. He is also a regular for the Turkish national team. If you've got your best players of the national team being implicated in this, I don't understand. And 1,024 players, if they're all not allowed to participate in the World Cup, why would Turkey even send a team? It'll be farmers and bankers. That's a wild story. And I get it. We don't care about soccer over here. The vast majority of us don't. But this sports gambling thing is taking over, and we see it.
It's right here in baseball.
It's right here in basketball.
Emmanuel Clase, huge story.
Yes, and that has taken on a life of its own in the Dominican, correct? Like, isn't that where he's being tried?
I think he's being tried here, but Major League Baseball was preventing him from playing in any sort of winter league.
Okay, that's what it was. But yeah, with the baseball stuff, and they could go to jail for how long? For how many? For
years and years.
For a couple of pitches?
A couple of pitches. A couple pitches every game, but it's quite a few pitches.
And my question is why? Why would you do this? Why would you get involved with gambling at this? Gambling at this.
He did just walk in.
This level, when you are. Emmanuel Clase is going to be filthy rich the rest of his life.
Emmanuel Clase, maybe the best closer in baseball, and he's so good that he can, to nobody's suspicion except for the highest of the highest when it comes to investigative individuals in this country, suspects anything from him. It's amazing. Like, his mechanics aren't any different. He can just put the ball where he wants to and control the speed. The crazy thing is he was telling people to bet over-unders on how fast the pitch was going to be. That's
why
crazy.
why do you need to lay your entire career on the line for? I mean, some of the bets are like $4,000. He makes that per pitch.
Wild.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dodger legend Andy Pages for screwing those jokers out of a couple $1,000. You see that?
Yeah, he chased
Because he
pitch.
chases pitches that are nowhere close to the zone.
By the way, Matthew Dawson is here if you want to ask him about coaching betting markets.
Yeah, ask him who he thinks that LSU is going to hire and why Saban. Tell him, just bring him to the
I've
mic.
got him in here. He can have my mic.
Yeah, go.
Come on, Matthew Dawson. Come on.
You get hey, this guy gets a lot of airtime on this show.
Hey, did you send me your story yet?
He's working a real job, and he's wearing real job clothes in here today.
Is this is just what you had in the car or what?
These clothes is what I wore to work. It's a greaser. Yeah, I was fixing a hydraulic pump today.
See,
so
it's a real man's job.
it was a tough day, but
Hey, if you keep saying manly stuff on this show, you're going to get a date out of this.
I do.
Oh, okay.
We're trying to get Kate. We're trying to get Kate a girlfriend. We're trying to get him a pair of new glasses and the
Yeah,
girlfriend.
nobody wants to like the video though. They got to like the
You gotta
video
like
so
the
Kate
video
can
to
get some new
Kate
glasses.
some new glasses,
man, yeah.
and we got to get Kate a date.
That's fair. Yeah. Look, I love to hear that. But Kate doesn't need a lot of help though getting a date.
You think he's got aura?
I think he's got some aura. We just haven't seen it yet.
Dude, in the chat, he's just naming Turkish basketball players. Dude.
Where? Alperen
so-
Sengun, aka Sin Goat.
Elite.
He's
elite
balling
pull
right now. He's
there.
balling right now.
Well, so I placed a sizable wager for Nick Saban to not
So
be the next
here's
LSU
what I want to
coach.
ask you. Legitimately, I want to ask you this.
Okay.
What is the advantage for Vegas or the betting markets to have Nick Saban with those type of odds?
Oh, I mean, such an advantage because, like, first of all, one, not that they necessarily do this, like, with things like this, every sports betting market, like, reflects, like, all the information that they have, right? Whether that's money coming in, whether that's new information that they have. But, like, the weird thing with, like, the NFL draft or things like these coaching hires, like, they don't have, like, a ton of information. You know, I mean, some of them they do, but like not as much as like
Not
you know,
games, they don't have an algorithm that pumps
Exactly.
out like possibilities for coaching searches.
So like, and this is more speculation than like actual insider knowledge of like how it would work for that kind of market. But you're telling me that it isn't an advantage for Nick Saban to be those high of odds, and he's like the second or third name on that list. So when you're scrolling down, you know, and you're looking at that, you're like,
So do you think the odds jumped to where he was the betting favorite because so much action came in on him?
well, okay, I think part of it was he was 75-1, and then Shaq went on a podcast and said, "Well, I think they're talking to Saban." It's like, no doy, they're talking to Saban. Like, of course, there's a conversation that's being happened. He's friends with what was the interim AD and now the current AD, who I don't know how things are being hired over there. It's gotten so complicated, but. So then, like, that day, it just, like, jumped in odds. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I, in response to that, placed a sizable wager against him becoming the coach.
I think that's a safe bet.
I think
Everything
so,
I've
too.
heard is a safe bet. And we talked about it earlier. He's 74 years old.
Yeah.
Why, in his mind, first of all, would he want to go jump on that grenade in Baton Rouge right now?
Exactly.
But on the flip side, what is the draw for LSU to hire somebody that old when he is going to have to spend every ounce of energy he's got remaining to try to just pull them out and get them back to even?
And at max, right? At max, what does he have? Maybe 8 years, if you are insanely lucky.
8 years? Dude,
I'm saying insanely lucky.
Father Time starts taking coaches at 70.
Yeah, and yeah,
And
he's already there.
4 years past that. Bill Belichick ain't getting any better.
No.
Speaking of Belichick, he's on my rundown today. What do you think's going to happen with the Giants hire? Do you think this Lane Kiffin thing has legs?
I don't know. I mean, it could. That would honestly, I think that would be a pretty decent hire. He's been in the NFL before. He's worked with Jackson Dart. I mean, that'd be nice.
And that would be a way for him to run from all this college stuff.
Oh yeah, and I don't know that he's lived in New York necessarily, but I don't know. He's like so not about the money. He's about like what is best. What does he want to do?
Yeah,
you know?
And living in New York, well, may be taking a hit in terms of the
maybe
the star power of what New York was. We'll see. But I do think the draw of the NFL, he's going, man, I don't have to recruit my own roster every 10 months. I don't have to mess with transfer portal. I don't have to mess with agents for 18-year-olds. Like, this might be a little bit nice. Like, this might be how I want to not ride into the sunset, but he's probably got another good 10, 12 years in him. Does he want to keep doing that in college? I think if he goes to the NFL, it'd be a massive gut punch to Florida. Florida thinks they've got him. Florida thinks he's coming.
That's crazy because the predictive markets like that I'm looking at right now, like Lane Kiffin's a favorite for the LSU job on the specific predictive market that I'm looking at.
This is just stuff I've heard. He's not interested.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't know if I'm willing to
it's
bet
too
against
muddy.
that.
It's too muddy.
It'd be like 30% return on that. I don't think that's not good enough for me to be betting against Lane Kiffin to be the LSU coach.
Last thing, betting wise, before we get you out here, did you see this Turkish football thing? Turkish soccer thing?
No, I haven't.
Massive scandal in Turkey. Over 1,000 players have been not arrested, but 1,000 players, over 1,000 implicated.
Betting, yeah.
Implicated in sports betting.
1,000. 1,000 is absurd.
350 referees.
Oh my! So it was the whole thing. It was like
the
whole
entire
thing
Turkish Football Federation.
4 years. It sounds like.
Yes. And what we said is that, to me, with the World Cup next year, you have to go investigate all of their international games that took place in the country for sports betting.
True. Yeah. 100%.
So I think it delegitimizes their national team as well.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
100%.
100%.
Oh, what you got? Ags minus 18.5. That's a big number.
Yeah, it is a big number. I'll take it though. I'm not laying it. Obviously, I'll pick it though for fun. If someone was going either way, right? Wouldn't you take that? Wouldn't you lay that?
It's a huge number. Like, what has A&M done all year that give you reason? The only thing that has hurt A&M from a gambling perspective is backdoor covers, like late touchdowns against Utah State, against UTSA, that blew the cover.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at
Arkansas.
So the only person who can generate an explosive play on that offense is Nick Harbor. So like that would be the backdoor cover. I think it would be some sort of explosive play.
Well, and they've got to get Lenore Seller has got to have time to throw it to him, and then if he
will not have,
Lenore Sellers has got to put the ball somewhere near him, which he struggled to do this year. It is a new offensive coordinator, so we'll see. We'll talk a lot more about that game. Matthew Dawson, big boy job.
Mike Fury, meathead Mike Fury. Awesome coach, by the way. If you get a chance to look at him, dude.
Northern Iowa,
yeah. And he was Bears wide receiver coach when I was there working for the Bears, like in that locker room. And just a meat stick.
So you could probably call Mike Elko and give him like some pointers on what this guy might run.
I would say like whatever you think he wouldn't do, like, oh, there's no way that he would do that in this situation. He would absolutely do whatever that is. That dude is a meat stick. He is. I mean, I don't know if he's coked up or.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
He's
turn his mic off.
You're done.
Turn his mic off.
Thanks, Matthew. Good Lord, he comes in here. He says some dude's in some
conversation.
Interim.
This, now everybody will.
Hey, go write your story.
Now everybody will forget you insinuating that Nick Saban's having marital issues, and we'll talk about how Matthew Dawson.
I wasn't insinuating he was having marital issues. That's like just the only reason he should leave to go take that job is because if he goes and takes that job, he's gonna have marital issues because Miss Terry didn't want to go back to Baton Rouge.
I have some We Learned
Why would
Wednesday.
anybody want to go back to Baton Rouge?
You ever been there?
Many, like multiple times. I've been there. I've been there like 4 or 5 times for club baseball. It is, I mean, I like Cajun food, and so I'm not going to complain about that aspect of it. But and I know that it's not the best there, but still, but everything else about it is bad.
All right, my We Learned Wednesday. I try to do something different every week for this. It's sometimes origin of words, phrases, recipes. I think we've done. We do a lot of on this date. But today I have origin stories from regular household items. Some of these are very interesting. And the first one you, Richard, and Kate are going to want to listen to because I think it's a product you probably both use every day, at least that you've said that you've told me that you use this product a bunch, okay? Chemist Robert Cheesebro had a successful job making oils used for illumination. But when petroleum was discovered in Pennsylvania, Cheesebro decided to seek out riches in the nascent industry. He noticed that oil rig workers would use a byproduct of the drilling process known as rod wax to address cuts, burns sustained during their work. Some might have said, wow, this oil rig stuff is really dangerous. But Cheesebro said, Give me some of that weird black goop and stand back. Cheesebro developed a method to refine the rod wax into a clear ointment called petroleum jelly, or under the name it's widely known as today, Vaseline. Supposedly, to sell his product, Cheesebro traveled around and performed demonstrations in which he wounded himself on purpose and then applied petroleum jelly to demonstrate its salubrious qualities. Afterwards, he'd give out free samples.
Why would we be using that a lot around the house?
I don't know. You just told me.
I've never told you that.
I thought you were talking about with Miranda and David potentially getting like a Vaseline deal with.
What?
I don't know.
Is this? I'm not gonna say. This is like baby oil. Kate.
Maybe I could have heard you wrong. I don't, my hearing's going as I'm getting older.
Puffs baby oil.
Velcro. George de Mestral found inspiration for his most famous invention in those annoying little burrs that can get stuck to your clothing after a walk in the woods. They come from a burdock plant, and when de Mestral put them under a microscope, he realized that they were made use of tiny hooks on the surface of the burr to grab onto whatever passes by. He went to work on developing a synthetic version of the adhesive structures, and with the help of a manufacturer in Lyon, France, he succeeded. It took a while to catch on, but today Velcro, which incidentally is properly a specific company name and not the generic term for the fastener, can be found on clothing, a trapper keeper, and even NASA space missions where it helps prevent things from floating around in low gravity.
Wow.
You want some more? I got a lot of these.
My We Learn Wednesday comes from the Disney adult that I live with. She just made a 24-hour trip to Southern California.
Grooming.
Flew out on a 6 a.m. flight from IAH, landed at LAX at like 7:30 a.m. Pacific time, and drove to Orange County to spend the day at Disneyland.
And then flew back.
And then flew back on a red eye. Did you know that when the winning quarterback of the Super Bowl looks into the camera after they win and is asked, Jared Goff, you just won the Super Bowl. What are you going to do next? They say the park, the one in California or in Orlando, Florida, dependent on where the Super Bowl is being played. So if it's being played on the western half of the country, they're going to say Disneyland. And if they're playing on the eastern half, they're going to say Disney World. In the state of Texas, it's the dividing line. So if the game's played up in Dallas, because it's a little further to the west, right? They're going to Disneyland. If they're playing in Houston, they're going to Disney World.
Wow.
The game this year's being played in what are they calling
Santa Clara.
San Francisco? Yeah, Santa Clara. So the quarterback, Jared Goff, when he wins the first Super Bowl for the Detroit Lions, is going to look directly into the camera and say, I'm going to Disneyland.
Nice. I did not know that. Thank you for that knowledge today.
That's a fun fact.
I have a fun fact now about barcodes. Did you know we have the Boy Scouts to thank for barcodes?
Thank you, Boy Scouts.
As a kid, Joseph Woodland learned Morse code through participation in the Boy Scouts. Years later, when he was looking for a way to efficiently imprint data onto products for tracking an organization, he thought back to that childhood experience, and he wondered if there was a way to visually render a version of Morse code simply but virtually limitless, Morse code simply but virtually limitless method of communication. As Woodland told the Smithsonian Magazine, inspiration struck at the beach. I poked my fingers in the sand, and for whatever reason, I didn't know, I pulled my hand toward me and drew 4 lines and said, golly, now I have 4 lines, and they could be wide lines and narrow lines, dots and dash instead of dots and dashes. So Woodland worked with a friend, Bernard Silver, to turn that moment of insight into the precursor to modern barcodes.
Wow. Golly.
That's
what he said.
That's what he said. He said.
Golly.
Gee,
Jay, do you have
golly.
any knowledge for us?
Well, given that I'm not a very avid, I dabble in the NHL. I dabble.
What else do you dabble in?
Okay.
All right.
Vaseline.
I'm an Avs fan, but I saw
he dabbles
this post.
in the NHL and just names a team that won a Stanley Cup in the last 3 years.
Whatever.
What is wrong with you?
I can be an Avs
Yes,
fan.
I
I'm
know.
from Colorado. So I saw
dab on
this
snow.
post the other day about Connor Bedard, who's a up-and-coming star in the league. Matthew Dawson raises his arms triumphantly. He is now 6th on the active players list for most career points before turning 21, and because
21.
he turns 21 in July, he is going to have the rest of the season to climb up the list. I think he could get as high as number 2. He is not going to pass Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby's at 294. Bedard's at 153 right now.
We all brought the heat. We all had facts on this We Learned Wednesday. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks to Bubba's 33 for providing these garlic knots. You can send all your leftovers every day to Cade Bickham, and you'll keep him fed. You'll put some meat on his bones. And if people will keep liking these videos, he'll be a big, burly, buff man with new glasses as he walks across the street to film Setting the Scene with Richard
To
Zane.
find a date.
To find a date. So we are on the Cade Bickham Glow Up Tour as we speak right now. Also, thank you to Southwood Valley Animal Hospital for partnering with us. We'll be back here tomorrow for a Thunderdome Thursday. I'm just going to tell you, we've got another March Madness style bracket that I think you're going to enjoy.
Can't wait.
We'll see you tomorrow on the B Team.